Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Empaths. I'm Wanda Vitale, and I'm your host. And this channel is committed to helping those of you who feel deeply, whether you're an empath or a highly sensitive person, to help you really understand who you really are and understand that you're here to create an amazing life and also a new world. And today I want to talk about power. This came up with one of my clients, and so since whatever comes up with me and my client base is usually happening in the world, I thought I would talk about it today. So we're going to talk about power. This is really a time when we're being tasked with taking our power back, and what does that mean? There's different levels of it. One level with my client is that she was triggered by someone else who was so disrespectful and clearly was, out of bounds. And my client blew up and, engaged, and it just doesn't do anything. We think when we're fighting back that it's doing something. But so I want to talk about power in this case. So people who feel powerless, and there's a lot of narcissists out there, and there's a lot of people who don't take responsibility for their lives. So these are the people who at their core right now are being triggered. They feel powerless. It could be financial situations. It could be anything, but here's the way they handle it. They don't want to feel their own powerlessness. So they project it outwards onto other people, which is what happened with my client. And so, I just want to remind you that what somebody says to you has absolutely nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the other person. So in the case of my client, she was shamed. This other person shamed her. I mean, just really pulled out all the stops to try to make her feel bad. And that's a narcissistic ploy, right? They will, because they don't want to feel that emptiness inside and that deep sense of being out of control and powerless and feeling powerless, they will say anything to trigger potentially you, or to trigger someone to feel the feelings that they don't want to feel. So in this case, it was, my client was shamed, and all this other stuff that really the person who said it was so out of line. So what do we do when this happens? Well, the first thing is to realize what's going on. If somebody's being rude to you, or, like my client, if you're on the receiving end of some really bad energy, just take a moment and breathe, and then realize, number one, that other person is trying to trigger you. They want to trigger you because they want you to feel what they don't want to feel. So when they trigger you and you feel out of control and you feel angry and you feel overwhelmed, they won. That's exactly what they don't want to feel. They want you to feel what they're not willing to. So the first thing, take a breath, realize this is the dynamic, and look at it like like a tennis ball coming over the net. And that when they start to be disrespectful or angry or shaming or accusatory, take that breath and realize this is somebody who does not take responsibility for their life, and refuse to engage. Just refuse to engage. Remember, they want you to feel what they're not willing to feel. They want you to feel upset. So what are you going to do? Refuse to engage. Realize realize you're listening to a toddler have a temper tantrum, a toddler who has not learned developmentally how to handle intense emotions. So the person on the other end is basically stuck at 2 or 3. Realize it has nothing to do with you. You're just a target. You just are an easy target. And it could be because you have engaged or you have allowed this kind of behavior before. So just listen to what they have to say and vow to not engage, not get riled up, and to say, you could say something like, okay, I hear you. You could say whatever they're saying to you. You could say, okay, I'll take this under advisement. Anything else? You've got to be the adult to somebody else's temper tantrum. And there's a lot of little children out there emotionally that are being triggered right now because they're reacting to life. They don't know that they create it. All right. So that's one kind of power where we're being asked to take our power back and say, no, I choose peace instead of this, and I'm not going to engage. This is your stuff. Right? You just say whatever, listen to what they have to say and say whatever. You have the power in that situation. When other people know that they cannot upset you, they quit trying to. In my own life, when I was going through my divorce several years ago, 20 years ago, I guess, or 15, while my ex-husband and I were still in the same house, he was an emotional bully. And he would use the same tactics to try to get me upset. And I would just look at him and go, okay, and then turn around. Okay. He quit talking to me. Literally, he quit talking to me. And this is what happens when people understand that you're not going to play their little game and that you're going to make them feel their own feelings. They go to somebody else that they can shame or that they can upset. But that's what's going on. They want you to feel the feelings that they don't want to feel. So they will upset you. So that's one way that we're being asked to take our power back. Taking our power back is really, it's about putting boundaries down and not just with not with other people. We put boundaries in place with ourselves. We decide now what we're willing to accept and what we're not willing to accept. That's it. It's not really about the other person at all. It's you making a decision of what you will no longer participate in. And that means it could mean drama. It could mean somebody trauma dumping with you, on you. It could mean a lot of things. But as consciousness continues to rise on the planet, we're being asked to rise as well and have a deeper connection with the infinite, because we are the infinite. We're not part of it. We are the infinite. So the infinite, as love, just doesn't engage in this other stuff, right? Love says, no, not today. Not today, fear, not today, trauma, not today, any of this stuff. You just need to decide what you're willing to participate in. And it's not about being loud or raucous or waving a flag going, no. It's really just about very peacefully going through your life and saying yes, no, yes, no. And if it's a no, don't give it your attention. That's physics. How do we make something go away? We withdraw our attention from it. So that's another kind of power. What are your boundaries? What did you learn about self-love? Self-love is saying, I'm no longer going to subject myself to people, places, or situations that aren't kind and compassionate and loving. They're just not your people, not your thing. It's not personal. You've just decided that you've just decided that any of that does not warrant your attention. So boundaries are another one. Again, not about other people, but what is it time to say no to? Okay. Taking your power back. Another way we do that I see all the time. So many people believe their thoughts. They believe their fear-based thoughts. So taking our power back with ourselves is also saying, I'm no longer willing to bully myself with fear, with my fear-based habitual thinking. I'm no longer willing to scare myself with my habitual fear-based thoughts. So it works with that. Who we are is source. You are the infinite. Everything else is made up. And that's what humanity is going through right now. More and more people are willing to recognize themselves as the infinite, as source, because that's who we are. I mean, who do you think breathes you? You don't breathe on your own. Your cells don't divide on their own. Source does that. It's the same energy that holds the planets in place. It's the part that breathes us. It's what makes us consistent. We don't die. We always exist. We change states, but we always exist as source. We're eternal. So, so many people believe their fear-based thoughts. So that's how we take our power back and say, no, look, fear has no power. There's only one cause, and that is source. There's only one cause for anything, and it's source. This fear that so many people buy into is not causal. It's a belief in an illusion that doesn't exist. And as soon as we take our attention away from the fear, or as soon as we say, no fear, not today, I have better things to do, it goes away. And it goes away because it has no power. It has no power to do anything. Fear and anxiety and doubt is a belief in something that doesn't exist. It's a belief in duality. It's a belief that there's some other cause other than source or the infinite. It doesn't exist, friends. I mean, when I decided to stand up to fear in my own life, it was a process, but it just goes away. It's like a bully in a Halloween mask that comes up and tries to scare you, but it can't do anything. That's why it fades so quickly. So that's another way that we're being tasked with taking back our power with our thoughts. And, ultimately, when we take back our power, we realize who we are, that we're not a separate blob of flesh. We realize that we're not disconnected from source or God or the infinite, whatever your word is. Ultimately, taking our power back is realizing that's who we are in every way, not just some of the infinite or some of source, but all of it right here, right now. And the only reason that people don't operate as such is that they believe in a secondary cause. They believe there's something else going on, or religion has trained so many people to believe that it's somehow sacrilegious to say, I am source and there is no other. But who do you think you are? How do you think your body exists? We're 99.999% space and less than 0.0001% matter. What do you think holds that space in place? It's not you. There is no other intelligence that exists. It's who you are. And the only reason that we don't experience it is because we believe in some other source. And so we give that other source power, but it has none. So this is another way that we can look at taking our power back, saying, wait a minute, who am I really? I am. I am that I am. I am that. I am that powerful creator. I am the one who announces reality with my assumptions, my beliefs, the stories that I tell. That's who you are. Everything else is the big illusion. So, how are you dealing with these power issues? What level is it? At what level is it impacting you? And where are you being tasked with taking back your power? Do you believe in that there's an out there and that it has power over you? It doesn't. Out there, if you listen to me, I say this in so many ways. Out there, what we call the world of 3D is the mirror, and it is reflecting our focus, our thoughts, our assumptions. That's it. It's the mirror. And most people are giving that mirror power, looking at conditions in the world, conditions in their lives, and saying, and then trying to fix them, trying to fix those conditions. And it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work. We can't fix those conditions. We have to take our power back, remember who we are, that we are source announcing reality as I am, and we move to another timeline where we don't have to move the mountain. If you're trying to fix things in your life and in the world, you're trying to move the mountain, and it doesn't work that way. When we live in our true power, which is love, which is knowing that I am source and there is no other, then we move to a timeline where what we're desiring already exists, where the mountain's already moved. That's, ultimately how we take our power back. We remember who we truly are, and we stop engaging with the lack thought, with lack, with hurt, with people that want to be angry with us. Let them. Remember who you are. And you move to the timeline where you're living a life that you want, where the mountain's already moved. You move there in your imagination. And when these angry people show up, or when situations show up that try to convince you that you're powerless, or that you need to be ashamed, or, whatever it is, just refuse to engage refuse to engage emotionally. If it's a person that's saying disrespectful things to you, just look at them and go, okay, take the wind out of their sails. Like, okay, I'll take that under advisement. When people are angry and feel powerless, some people will do just about anything to stir up an argument or a disagreement so that they don't have to feel their own unworthiness, their own shame, their own lack. So and you have full control. You don't have to engage. So you just stop hitting that tennis ball back over the net, whether it's a fear-based thought, whether it's anxiety, whether it's someone else in your face. You as source announce reality, and then disregard everything else, because the mirror of your life, of 3D conditions, does not change immediately. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. So while So when you make the change on the inside, know that your outer world will change. And while it is changing, like a new script to a movie that's being introduced, a plot twist, if things are in your face, don't make them important. Don't make them mean anything, because they don't. Again, who has the power? You as source have the power. And anything else, the world of 3D, there's no power in it. It may look like it and it may feel like it, and may be certain things that you need to do, but ultimately it has no power. Everything plays out and shifts, and you end up living in the reality or the scenario where the mountain's already moved, where there are kind people, where you're surrounded by people that are respectful and that know that they create their lives. This has happened in my life. I have just people who blame and get angry for no reason, and or who believe in drama, who are not self-responsible. I used to have those people in my life. No more. I did the same thing I'm telling you. And this is actually what a therapist told me as I was going through a divorce with my ex-husband. Don't engage. Because that's why they engage. They want to make you upset. So it's not them that needs to change. If if you're being irritated by other people, it's you who needs to change. Stop giving power to people in your life. Decide what you want. Decide who you are. That's the ultimate power. I mean, so many people talk about the law of attraction, but the biggest law is the law of being, the law of assumption, the law of being. And what is the law of being? Whoever you're being, like an actress in a play, whoever you're being is what you experience in life. It's that simple. And you get to be anybody you choose. You get to be calm. You get to know that you're worthy. How could you be unworthy? That's just another video. How could you be unworthy? Your source. You decide who you are. I mean, that's what we're all doing anyway. With empaths who believe they have to heal and fix and keep pulling their trauma from 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago into now, right? Those people are being a traumatized child. But we don't, and that's a choice, because you keep, telling a story from the past. So be the wise adult. Be the wise adult who loves himself or herself so much that there are many situations that just aren't worthy of you. And watch your life change. Watch your life change. This is really what all these power issues are about now. This big split that we're in. People who believe they create, who believe they create their own lives as source, and people who believe they are victims. It's a huge split. Let it split. Divest yourself from those who want to use you for target practice. Divest yourself from people who can't control their emotions. Divest yourself from people who aren't kind, who aren't loving. Divest yourself from the victims of the world. I mean, ultimately, this is where we're going. You either know that you're source and you're creating and announcing your reality, or you believe you're a victim and life happens to you. So, I mean, that's really the big choice. And the more you identify as source, announcing reality, not looking at outside conditions, saying no to certain things that are going on, saying, no, I'm not even going to give it a thought, the faster things change. And the more you know your true nature, which is I am that. I am that. So let me know if you're experiencing some power issues in one way or another, either with your thoughts, with your fear, with other people. Let me know what's going on. Thanks for listening, everyone.